Guys, how have I patronized you?
It's not patronizing.
Listen, I can tell by your body language that you're uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable with the conversation, then I'll step back from the conversation. It's as simple as that.
It's not a matter of being uncomfortable, it's a matter of annoyance. Because
why are you annoyed?
The reason I'm annoyed is because you don't seem to be getting the point, which is that no matter what any academic has said, we have the oral Torah, which has explained all of the internal contradictions in the written Torah. So unless you get that through your head, that we actually have answers to your questions, and that I'm not
give us an example, all right, of these internal contradictions that you have stated, right? That your scholars or the oral Torah has given explanation to, because yes, you're right. To me, Genesis chapter 1 verse 3 to me is a contradiction. And yes, we have academics who have done studies on, for example, where God says, "Let there be light," and there was light, and God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. This is talking about the light of the sun. Unless you're gonna
no, it's a light. See, there you are.
Hold on.
There you go.
Islam. You keep on.
Hold on one second.
It's not an Islamic thing. It's an atheist thing.
Wait, hold on a
That's
second.
what they did.
What have I
That's
said
what
that's incorrect?
Velthausen did.
It says light.
He's doing the same thing Velthausen
Hold on a minute.
did.
Let me ask you a question.
You're doing exactly the same thing Velthausen did.
Okay.
Exactly
I'm going to
the
ask you
same.
one simple question for both of you. Maybe you can answer me. Right? What separates the day and the night?
What separates the day and the night?
Yeah. What separates the day and the night?
The day and the night now is separated by
what?
It depends on where you are on earth. It depends on where you are.
Okay, I'm going to read it again. It said, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Okay? And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness.
Yes.
Right? God called the light day. Are you hearing this?
Yeah.
Right? And the darkness he called night.
Yeah.
So my question is, what separates the day and the night?
God separates.
That's the one.
Okay.
God
Right.
is the one who separates it.
What?
That's what the scripture
What?
says.
Okay.
The sun,
okay.
innit?
Thank you very much. Right. The sun. Now, if we go further down,
Between the day and the night, is it?
well, of course it does. What do we have right
What
now?
about the places where they what call it? What do you call it?
No, hold on a minute. Wait.
The
So are
sun
you
of the
telling me
night.
you don't know?
Please, my friend, let's be logical.
I'm very logical.
And I'm
being
saying to you,
logical.
if you go to the North Pole right now, are you telling me that when they've got this got light coming on them all the time, almost like 24/7? What about that?
But
Where's
hold
the
on a
day and
minute.
the
You
night?
haven't even answered
Then
my
look at the
question.
clock. The
I
clock
asked
tells them
you,
the day and the night.
brother.
He's showing you how your question doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay. How does it make? Okay. Go ahead. How does it make? How does it not make sense?
Because you were saying that the thing that separates the day and the night is the sun. And I'm saying to you, he said that God separates the day and the night. God did. He's the one that said God separated the day from the night.
No,
God did, not the sunlight.
No. What I'm
You in
saying.
your mind, you think, well, the sun.
Hold on.
You know, that's what
Wait.
you're thinking because you're on earth.
Okay. Let me respond
But
to
the
you.
scripture says
Let me
God
respond to
separated
you.
the day from the night.
Is Genesis not talking about the creation?
Of course it's talking about
Right. So when God is talking about the creation, he's talking about the advanced vegetable kingdom. In fact, if we go further down, right, this actually proves that she's talking about the sun and not talking about God. You're making ta'wil. You're making.
But the scripture says God separated the day from the night. That's what we're all saying.
Listen, it
We're
says
only saying
here.
what the scripture said.
Okay.
Not your experience.
I'm gonna repeat
See,
it again.
You want to use your experience.
I didn't even need to use oral Torah though. That was easy.
Really?
God separated. It says it.
Is it a cosmological reality that God separated the day and the night? Is it a cosmological reality, yes or no?
Well, it depends on your premise.
So
It depends on your premise. Does God exist or does he not? If God exists, then yes, it is a cosmological reality.
No.
If God does not exist, then no, it's not.
No. God is an agent.
God is an agent.
No. God is the force of separating the day from the night. But that's not the question he asked. He asked what separates from the day and the night.
God is a force.
What God used.
To separate the day from the night.
That's a better question. That's a much better question. There we go.
So what's the answer?
What does God use? I don't know. I'm not a physicist.
Right. This is going to be, listen, this is going to be a complete refutation for what they said. Do you know why?
Torah is not a
Because we go to
physics
verse
textbook.
14, this is proof that the light is intended here and not God. It says here, and God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heavens and to separate the day from the night." Right? It said, "Let there be what? Let there be light in the firmament
Lights,
of the
not
heavens."
light.
Yeah, that's actually true. It is the plural. Luminaries.
Okay. Let there be lights. Okay.
Because you're focusing on the sun.
No
I'm saying
problem.
there's more than,
No
than
problem.
the sun
Thank you for the
is.
correction.
This is the
No
sun, the
problem.
moon, and the stars.
There's so many suns.
Right. It says, let there be lights. Right. What lights is it speaking about here?
Lights,
Yeah.
the sun, the moon, and the stars. It's about to say in a few verses.
Good. Excellent. It says, yes. Yes, good. In the firmament of the heavens and in the heavens to separate the day from the night. So what is the separating factor? This is what I asked you earlier. You said it was God, but here it's saying it's the light. But my question, hold on, before you answer, my question is to you, God in verse 1 created the effect of light on the first day and he created the cause of light on the third day. That doesn't make sense. That's a contradiction. Now, hold on one second.
Are you saying God is contradicting himself?
Okay, according to this, yes,
Because
definitely.
now,
this is where I bring.
God is the one that separated the
Hold on.
light from the. And when he said let there be light, he didn't say it was sunlight. He said let there be light. He didn't say let there be sunlight.
Yes, but he also said to separate the day and the night.
Later on
Listen, no, he said in verse 1, no, you're not even reading this properly. In verse 1 it says, I'm going to read it again.
Yes.
Right? Let's go back up to the top, because you're clearly not reading this properly. And God said, let there be light, and there was light, and God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. Right?
Did he say sunlight? Did he say sunlight?
No,
I'm asking you, did he say sunlight?
No. The reason.
So later on, it mentions when the sun was created. That's it.
No.
That's my point. That's my point. You don't get it.
The reason why.
I even get what he's saying.
This is the reason why.
He doesn't agree, but I hear what he's saying.
This is the reason why. This is the reason why I brought up academics. This is the reason why I brought up academics, because academics have pointed this contradiction out.
You said something I hear. Thank you very much. You know, I never understood what the Muslims used to say, but now today you give me some clarity about how they believe, because the Quran says it. So it's like, well, that's what we believe. So even if the Quran says it, we can tell that it's not true, because the Quran says it, then it is true.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
And then they have the nerve to try to
morning, evening.
Then they have the nerve. Then they have the nerve to try to say to us,
Right.
as Jews.
I'm going to bring out a few academics that have.
Now, what the academics say about the Torah is what we believe about the Torah. I mean, it's so laughable.
With all due respect,
and when Bob does the same thing about the Quran, they laugh because it's so laughable. They understand the Quran through the Hadiths, not through academics, not to have Bob.
Josh.
And we look at the Torah being
Double
reproached about
standard. That's the
It's a
issue.
double
Double
standard.
standard.
They do strawman arguments and they don't look at
Thank
other
you very
people's
much,
paradigms.
Josh. I've learned a lot today. Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys.
That's okay. Anyway, okay, this is what I think, right? I think personally that you haven't responded to what I've asked you, right? And I'll tell you why I feel that you haven't responded, right? Now, I mentioned to you that God created the effects of light on the first day, right? And then he created the cause of light on the fourth day, right? Also, if you look further down, it says that God's created an advanced vegetable kingdom. It says here, right? Bear with me. There you go. That's another question I was about to ask.
It's been a long time since I did sound.
Come on, Josh.
That's where the sun takes. The plants use sunlight as nutrition. No.
Okay.
That works, kind of. No, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The plants are using
How does vegetation
sunlight.
grow?
The plants take sunlight and use it as a nutrient.
And
somehow.
what did the brother just mention here?
What did he say?
You're not paying attention. Look, you accuse me. I'm not.
Oh, yeah,
Wait, let me read it. Hold on.
Can you read it?
I'm going to read it. It says,
There's the vegetation.
and hold on one second. It said, and God said, let the waters under the heaven.
Even the same God as the Christians.
Hold on. One second. One second. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruits trees bearing fruit, in which their seed, each according to its kind upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kind. So the question is, how does photosynthesis work? Because God didn't create the sun until the fourth day. So the creation of the sun wasn't in existence.
Correct.
So how is it possible for God to create an advanced vegetable kingdom when the creation of the sun and the moon wasn't even in existence? So can you please explain that? If you're unable to explain it through the Torah, fine. If you can give me an external source that can explain this, as you said that you have like some type of tafsir, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, the Torah is not a physics textbook. The Torah is not here to tell us physics. The Torah is here to tell us the order of creation. That God first puts the seeds into the ground. First, God created the mechanism for the vegetable vegetation cycle to work, and only after it's created, the means for those then to grow does not, in fact, contradict. That God put in first the seeds and the basis for the plants. He created that first, right? The earth brings it forth, and then, only then, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? And now photosynthesis will eventually take place, and the plants will actually start to grow, because that's how it works.
Okay, but the creation of the sun wasn't in existence. So how do you?
The sun is afterwards. So until then, it doesn't grow.
Sorry.
Until then, it won't grow.
That's exactly the point we're making.
Okay, but
That's exactly the point
It
we're
doesn't
making.
say it grew on the third day. It said the earth brought it forth. There's a difference.
yeah, but how do you bring something forth without the sun?
About the sun, correct?
In order for plants to grow, it needs the sun for photosynthesis. In fact, if we look at the definition of photosynthesis, it says photosynthesis is a process used by plants and other organisms to convert light energy into chemical energy that, through cellular respiration, can later be released to fuel the organism activities. So therefore, you would need light, right, in order for the sun, for the plants or this advanced vegetable kingdom to come into existence. So you haven't really explained to me logically, neither scientifically, how is it possible for the sun, because the sun didn't come until the fourth day, but then we have an advanced vegetable kingdom a day before. So it's still, I don't think your answer really gave any sort of logical, coherent answer.
I'll tell you something first of all. I'm not a scientist. I don't understand science, right? I only just kind of know the basic idea of photosynthesis, that the plant is getting nutrients from sunlight, right? Now, I don't know exactly how that works, and maybe you know more than, hopefully you know a lot more about this than I do. It sounds like you do.
No,
So
what
I'm
is
not going to comment on science. All I know is that the Torah is not a physics textbook. The point of what the Torah is saying is not necessarily to tell you how photosynthesis works. It's not necessarily to tell you that it's possible for plants to grow without light. It's telling us the order of creation and various other secrets as well, right? That you're not necessarily going to understand. That God gave us a book which isn't a physics textbook is something you'll have to work out in your own time.
Creation is to do with physics.
Creation is part of the physics.
but what I'm saying, no, I agree. No, he's right. It's not the Torah is not a science book. I get that. I totally agree, because the Quran, we can argue the same with the Quran. It's not a science book. However, when it comes to the creation of God, it should be in chronological order.
Exactly.
If we see something that's sort of like out of context, so to speak, then this book needs to be questioned as to its validity, and that's all we're doing. And that's the reason why I would then postulate that it's not the word of God, because then why would God make such mistakes? Just like with the conversation we were having last week about God having regret, God losing the wrestling match and things like this. That why would you have a God that seems to be having these sort of things that are ungodly, so to speak?
I mean, number one, I already explained to you the wrestling and the regretting. The fact that I'm not currently able to explain the scientific stuff is simply because I don't understand science and I haven't really looked into this, right? The point I'm making is, the point I was making before, is that you will find, if you look in the Torah Shabbat Al-Peh, in the Oral Torah, you'll see that there are answers in terms of chronological issues, in terms of what looks like differences in numbers between like Samuel and Chronicles and Kings and Chronicles. You'll see that that we have resolutions in the Oral Torah to the anthropomorphisms that don't seem to make much sense, to all sorts of things like grammatical issues. I mean, if you knew Hebrew as well as I do, then you would be able to get much better questions than you're making now. I can assure you, you could be making questions in the very first verse of the Torah all the way till the last on every single verse and on almost every single word. And the fact that you can't do that is simply because of ignorance of the Hebrew language, and that's actually part of why there must be an Oral Torah. What if there is a premise that there is indeed a written Torah? But that's besides the point.
Okay,
the
look.
point is that God put all of these things in the Torah in order to teach us things. And those things are brought out in the Oral Torah. And that's what the Torah is. The Torah is not a textbook, it's not a history book, it's a godly book. And you don't have any other books you could call godly, unless of course you hold the Quran, that you could compare it to in order to say, oh, well, this is what I'm expecting in a godly book, is it? Like, when we're looking at a history book, we know what we can compare to. We can compare it to other history books and see, is this a history book as well? Because these other books are also history books. You don't have that with a godly book. We don't have that, right? You believe the only godly book currently in existence is the Quran. I believe the only godly books currently in existence are the Tanakh and the Torah. The Christians believe all there is the Bible, right?
No, we agree that, we believe...
We've corrupted.
There's so many religions in the world today. How do you know which one is true? You should get criteria to define which one is the question. In the Quran, God said, if the Quran has been from other than God, in it you'll find many contradictions, discrepancies. Is that criteria to decide which?
Yeah, so does the Torah have a similar criteria where it says if it's anyone other than God? So if the author is other than God, then you will find discrepancies, contradictions. Yeah, what sort of falsification test do you have to determine that this is actually God's words? Like, we can bring forward legitimate arguments from the Quran to demonstrate that it is God's words. Like, we can bring up subjects of oceanography, for example. We can bring up the subject of embryology. We can bring up absolutely. I feel that there's absolutely.
I don't believe God would be ignorant about his own creation.
That's like a sign that the Bible has been prompted.
With all due respect.
None of us believe that God is ignorant about his creation.
None of us believe.
None of us believe that. Right? Whether you believe in the Torah, the Quran, or the New Testament, no one here believes that God makes mistakes. None of us believe that God is ignorant. Right? None of us believe that.
According to the scripture,
it postulates so. Yes.
Right? Now, you may look at a piece of scripture and say, this looks like that. But without looking, but when the people who believe in that scripture say there's an oral thing that goes alongside it, why wouldn't you look to that as well?
What's the oral though that goes alongside it?
What is the Oral Torah?
Yeah.
The Oral Torah has been codified in a number of different collections. There's, for example, there's the Midrashim, there's the Targum, there's the Talmud, 2 Talmuds, there's the Mishnah, there's the Tosefta. There's a number of different codifications of Oral Torah. So if you look in Oral Torah, you'll find answers.
What do you mean by codification?
So the Oral Torah was very much a living tradition. It was passed down orally, teacher to student, and from court to court, etc. And so they, when they were putting all of this into writing, they put it in different codified books. But it wasn't just one big book; they put it in lots of different books.
So can I ask you? So what's your? I mean, I know this question was asked before, but I'm going to reiterate it. I mean, okay, fair enough. You may not know the answer to the question of the science of what I brought up. Fine, fair enough. We'll just leave that to a side. Okay, maybe that's something that you can look into. But when it comes to like the Quran, for example, I mean, like for example, the Quran speaks about the universe expanding, for example. This is just one out of many examples of the Quran where it has some scientific evidence to demonstrate that it is actually the word of the Creator himself. Now, the universe, okay, that's just one example, but the universe expanding was an argument that was found in 1952 when Edwin Hubble, the American astronomer, he realized that when he was looking through his telescope, he realized that the you all right? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Josh. Sorry. Anyway, that's what I was saying.
What's he saying?
Edwin Hubble, the American astronomer, when he was looking through his telescope, he realized that the constellations and the nebula, the celestial bodies, were moving away from each other. And this was only actually found in 1952. This discovery was in 1952. However, 1,400 years ago, right, the Quran makes that prediction that the universe is expanding, right? And if you want references, we can produce the references for that.
Chapter 51, verse 47.
Yep. Have you not seen that we've created the heavens and earth, and surely we are expanding it? So, the Quran is very specific and says that the universe is expanding, which is actually quite amazing, because even if we look at academics, like for example, according to the Russian physicist Alexander Friedman and the Belgian cosmologist Georges Lemaitre, they both theoretically calculated that the universe was in constant motion. And they agree that the universe is expanding, right? So this is academically found and proven that the universe is expanding, yet the Quran mentioned this 1,400 years ago.
Stephen Hawking said it is the greatest scientific discovery of the century.
Well, that's what Hawkins says. So why would you reject the Quran when it's in full compliance to the worship of God? And of course you believe in the worship of, obviously you're not a Christian, just like us. You don't believe in the triune God. We don't believe in the triune God, right? You believe that God is the only Hashem that you believe in. You believe that he is the only being worthy of worship. We believe that Allah is only worthy of worship. We accept that Jesus is the prophet, and obviously this is where we may part ways, right, in your belief. But we believe that Jesus is the messenger of God. And we don't believe, right, that the Messiah, the Mashiach that you believe in, or the Messiah that we believe in, we don't believe that he can die a death of someone who's cursed. Because we know in Deuteronomy chapter 20, it says, whoever is hanged on a cross, hanged on a tree, is a curse of God. And we don't believe that Jesus Christ was crucified because we know that will make him a false prophet. Would you agree to that?
And that's part of what made him a false prophet.
Precisely.
Part of it.
I agree with you.
There are many other things.
Yes, I know. Amongst other things, obviously, if you read the Talmud, obviously it has a description of, I don't know, there's some serious stuff I read in there about Jesus.
It doesn't actually talk about Jesus, by the way. Just putting it out there. There was more than one Yeshu at the time of Chazal.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, fine.
Yeshua was a very common name.
Yes.
In the first century.
Okay, fair enough, right? So what was I saying? Yeah, so
You're basically telling me all the creeds of Islam. That's basically what you're doing.
yeah, the creeds of Islam, but which you believe in yourself, like the oneness of God, you know. So why would you object to something that we both unanimously agree on? Apart from just a few things, a few alterations in beliefs, which I can completely accept. But why would you reject Muhammad as the prophet of God when we don't believe, as I said before, that Jesus died on the cross, because that makes him a false prophet, right? We believe that God has risen him. In fact, in Psalm chapter 91, it says that Yeshua, that God will protect him and that God will save him from the punishment of the pestilence. That's the word that you use. Psalm chapter 91, verse 1. Now, I know you might have an explanation to that, but what's your take on that?
That's very, very funny. 91 verse what?
9. Okay, I'll bring it out. Hold on. I'll bring it out. You are familiar with Psalms 91, right?
It's one of the bedtime psalms. It's one of the psalms we say every night.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right, it says, he who dwells in the shelter. By the way, before I read this, right,
Doesn't mention Yeshua anyway. His entire Psalm just went through it. Doesn't mention Yeshua anyway.
You want to come this way?
I don't know what you're talking about. Doesn't mention Yeshua in the entire Psalm. I didn't think it did, so I had to go through it.
come on.
It doesn't mention Yeshua.
It's not like your wife wants to be on that side.
Not good of you, mate.
Anyway,
Doesn't mention Yeshua. The entire Psalm.
okay, it says, I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With the long life, I will satisfy him and show him my Yahushua, my salvation. So it does say, the Hebrew word Yahushua is used here. Are you reciting it?
Oh, you're about the last verse.
Yeah.
In my salvation.
Yeah, my
That's what it
salvation.
means.
Yahushua.
It's not about a person.
Okay.
Yeshua in my salvation. It's just a
No,
word.
no, the reason why, okay. The reason why, does it say Yahushua though?
No.
What does it say? Yeshua Hasi.
No, Yeshua.
You're short of C. Okay.
Yeshua.
Okay. Well,
Same root, but different word. My salvation.
okay, fine. Right.
Talking about a person.
Okay, well, there are some.
Please don't
Okay.
be Christian. Don't do a missionary on me.
What, we're doing what on you?
Yeshua.
No, listen, I'm not Christian, so I'm not going to do any.
Christian.
I'm not going to do any.
I mean, you just did. You just did.
No,
I can't
I.
believe it. I've never heard that from a Muslim before.
No. Okay.
very strange.
Professor Bar Ehrman, he states in Psalm chapter 91, verse 16,
Yes.
that this is talking about Yahushua, which is actually Christ. Now, obviously, you don't have to share. Hear me out. You don't have to share that opinion. That's fine. Obviously, we can agree to disagree on that. But academics have mentioned that this is speaking about Jesus. Now,
Do they happen to be Christian?
No, Barman isn't a
Bart
Christian.
Ehrman's not a Christian.
No.
He's just
And
Christian
yet he
scholar.
believes that such.
No, he's not even a Christian.
no, I know he's not a Christian.
No, he left
but he left Christianity.
Yeah.
And when
But-
he said this, he was a Christian.
Irrespective,
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that an atheist?
Hang on, that would contradict the doctrine of Christianity because they believe Jesus died.
Hold on.
So
Are you
what's your
telling
point?
me? Are you telling me that there's an atheist who believes that one of the Psalms is talking about Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what most Christians do anyway.
And he's a
Makes
biblical,
sense.
he's a biblical
But
scholar
an
as well.
atheist believes that one of the Psalms is about Jesus.
He's not just an atheist, he's a biblical scholar.
He's a biblical scholar.
All
Yeah.
the vast majority of biblical scholars are atheists. Did you not know that?
And so are Jews and Christians and Muslims.
What, the vast majority of Jews, Christians, and Muslims
I
are
don't-
atheists.
No, I'm saying amongst the academics, it's not just
The Bible
atheists.
critics. The Bible critics are all atheists.
You're saying all atheists.
Yeah, they all are.
Really?
Maybe
What about
a religious.
Dr. Keith Wood?
Is he religious?
Yeah, he's a biblical scholar.
Is he religious?
Why does that matter?
Because of premises. If you are an atheist, you're going to have certain premises that a religious person will not have.
If you're a Jewish scholar, yeah, there could be bias. What's your point?
No. If you are okay, forget Jewish or not Jewish. If you're religious or you're not religious, if you believe there is a God, then you are going to approach Bible criticism very differently to if you believe there is no God.
Do you know the difference between academic circles and belief and theology? Do you know the difference?
Yes, academics
Go on.
will not bother to state the premise that they don't actually believe that God could possibly have written a book.
Exactly, correct. Okay, so is he making an argument from a religious perspective or from an academic perspective?
An academic, which is also
Thank you very much.
because
So-
they don't believe in God.
No, hang on. You just-
undermines your own argument.
Josh, you just made the distinction between academic circles
Yes.
and theology.
Yes.
Okay, the brother here gave you an academic scholar by the name of Dr. Bar Ehrman.
Yes.
Okay, he's not a believer in God.
Okay.
Okay, he's an atheist.
Yeah.
What has his belief got to do with his assessment of the Bible?
Because you can't sideline.
I'm saying that it doesn't make sense that an atheist would say that one of the Psalms, which was written many years before Jesus, maybe he believes it was written later. Okay, fine, I'll go with that. That he believes the Psalm was written after Jesus, and therefore he believes it was written about Jesus. Maybe he said that.
Historians would only construct what people claim to be so, not supernatural experience that Jesus, was resurrected. That's something that historians are not interested in. Historians are only interested as to who this may be referring to. This is what they say.
Well, I really don't understand.
Okay,
why would somebody look at Psalm 91 and think it's talking about a person?
Because they say Yeshua.
Well, not only no.
Because it says the word Yeshua. Do you know what the word Yeshua means?
Okay,
Salvation.
wait, hold on.
Yes.
So
And what was the name of Jesus?
In Hebrew,
Yeshua.
can you not use the word salvation without it referring to Jesus?
You can.
So why can't it here?
You
Wait,
can.
hold on a minute. The reason why I use Psalms 91, right, is because we know, obviously, you don't believe in the New Testament, so I'm just going to quote some New Testament verses to demonstrate why I use Psalms chapter 91, right? Now, we know that when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was praying to God to be saved, right? And he was... Sorry?
You know that's how exactly?
When he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, are you not aware that when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was asking God to be saved from the crucifixion?
Take this cup away from me.
Yeah, take this cup away from me. Not my will, but your will be done.
According to the gospel.
Yeah, according to the gospel, yes.
Of course.
Yeah,
Because the way you said it was as if it was like a factual event or something.
No. I'm summarizing what it says. I'm not exactly verbatim. I'm just summarizing. But are you aware of what I was saying? The verse, right? So what I'm saying to you, right, is that Jesus was asking God to be saved from crucifixion. So the reason why I'm bringing up Psalm chapter 90, right? 91. Because it says here, and I'll read it. Actually, do you know what? I need to go to Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. Because this will make it make more sense. Rather than, let me go to Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. And you would get a better understanding. Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. Right, it says here, then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will give you his angels charge over you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. Now, if you go to Psalms chapter 91, let's go back to Psalms. Was it Psalm 91 I said, or Psalms?
Yeah, Psalms 91, yeah. 91 is here.
Yeah, Psalms.
That's it. I've got to press.
Yeah, no.
Half an hour.
Right, it says, so with what I read just now, right, Jesus was praying to not die on a cross, right? And I quoted Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. It says, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High. So we believe that Jesus, he was a servant of God and he dwelt in the shelter of the Most High, right? Who abides in the shadow of the Almighty will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at the noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked, because you have made the Lord your refuge. So we believe that Jesus was a messenger of God and he sought refuge in the Creator, right? The Most High your habitation. No evil shall befall you, no scourge came near your tent. For he will give his angels charge of you. This is Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. To guard you in all his ways. And in their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. This is in reference to Matthew chapter 4, verse 5.
can't it be the other way around? That Matthew is referencing the Psalm instead of the Psalm referencing Matthew.
So no,
Since
what?
the Psalm came first.
No, what I'm saying is that Matthew is quoting from Psalms chapter
No,
91.
that's fine.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
what I'm saying.
So to
Before
us,
you were saying that the Psalm was talking about Jesus. Now you're saying that
No,
Matthew
Matthew is referring Psalms 91
to Jesus.
Why did you say that?
That's what I said.
You didn't.
What did I say?
You said the Psalm is talking about Jesus.
I did say that.
But he's backing it from the New Testament.
Exactly. I am referencing it to Matthew chapter 4, verse 5. So I think you need to...
If Matthew quotes the
Don't worry,
Psalm,
it's easily misunderstood. It's fine. We'll clarify it now. We'll clarify it.
Okay,
clarify.
fine.
Makes sense. Good.
Look, the point I'm trying to raise here, right, is that we believe that Jesus was protected by God and he wasn't crucified, and so therefore that proves to us as Muslims.
about Jesus.
Because you affirm that you crucified.
What do you mean? We don't confirm anything like this.
You do, sorry.
In the what?
You're gonna go soon. You're gonna go.
Yeah, I'm
You're
going to go in
pray.
20 minutes. Inshallah. I'm going to pray also.
You saying, right? You saying?
Yeah, I'm staying after
Yeah.
Maghrib. But I'm going to leave at 6.
Fair enough.
There were a number of different issues. Josh, in the first, in the
This is what they do.
Yeah.
None of them were first.
Sorry,
One
Josh.
of them's a section too early. one was a section too late.
Sorry, could you can have a discussion with him separately. No problem. What the brother is trying to do here, we're trying to use internal evidences from the Gospels to prove to you that Jesus was not crucified.
I don't
He
care.
wasn't killed. But that's the point. That's what.
Personally,
That's what we're making.
personally, I couldn't care less if Jesus was crucified or just died naturally.
Of course you do
Doesn't
care.
make a difference to me.
Of course you care. Because you believe Jesus was a false Messiah.
It's irrelevant
Why is he irrelevant?
because none of the Messianic prophecies were fulfilled.
No, but
Which
he's
means
no.
that it doesn't matter to me how he died.
No. See,
Whether he was killed or he just died naturally.
so
is irrelevant to me.
even if Jesus did not die, you still reject him.
When he did die.
No.
No.
But if
See,
it-
that's the reason. So it is relevant.
yeah, it is, because if Jesus didn't die the death he died, would you believe in him?
Yeah. Would you believe in him?
If God raised him like Elisha, when God raised Elisha to the heavens, right?
No, that's Eliyahu.
Pardon?
Eliyahu, not Elisha.
Elia, okay, yeah, Eliyahu. You know what, my Hebrew is not that great, but you know what, thank you for the correction. But Eliyahu, God raised him, right? So if God raised Jesus and protected him, would you believe in him as the Messiah?
Depends what he says. If he says things that contradict the Torah, then I can't believe in him.
But Jesus never claimed to be divine in any of the 4 Gospels.
No, that's
He
not
says that he's a prophet.
Because this is what the Jews claimed.
I really hope you don't think that that's the only condition in
What's up?
Crazy people.
I wonder what it is. Do you know what it is?
Did we say it's the only condition? We didn't say that.
Because what you said was, when I said it depends whether or not he contradicted, you immediately said, well, he never said he was divine, right? Well, that's not the only thing. So I don't know why you would bring that up.
But do you believe Jesus claimed to be God?
Don't know, don't care. Don't
What,
know, don't care.
hang on. So what was your assessment that led you to believe that Jesus was false Messiah? Just because your rabbi said so?
No, to pick up the sound.
The very fact that none of the
It
Messianic...
just picks up the sound.
The very fact that we're not in the Messianic Age means that the Messiah has not come. Which means that if he claimed to be the Messiah, which apparently he did, because the Christians told us that he claimed to be Messiah, but then he must be a false Messiah. It's a simple...
And what would that be Messianic age look like?
Messianic Age will have world peace,
Okay.
nature will be flipped on its head, because the lamb will lie with the lion, etc. We'll have the third temple in Jerusalem. We will, there will be universal, as in totally universal knowledge of one God, right? Totally universal, right? I think Hindus are Trinitarians or people believe that God has essential attributes, any of that kind of stuff. No.
Okay.
Total monotheism throughout the whole world. Everyone will flock towards Jerusalem to worship God. Right? Everyone will flock to Jerusalem to worship God. That will be during Messianic time. None of that's happened. If anyone thinks it has, they're very delusional.
Okay, fine, fair enough. If that's your reason why you believe Jesus false Messiah, then that's absolutely fine. No problem. But what we are saying to you is that one of the reasons why you do reject Jesus as the Messiah, because first of all, you believe that he was an illegitimate child, correct?
I don't know. Maybe he
In your Talmud,
Talmud doesn't talk about it.
the Talmud mentions that Mary slept with Roman soldiers. Do you know that?
No, the Torah talks about a person called Miriam. Again, Miriam is a common name today, and it was a common name then as well.
Okay.
It was not that Miriam. It can't be. It's the wrong time frame.
Okay, but then do you believe the Talmud does speak about Jesus who claims to be the Messiah?
No, it doesn't talk about anyone who claims to be the Messiah.
So
it does talk about a Yeshu who went and bowed down to a brick.
Okay, hang on. Are you rejecting the same Jesus that we believe to be the Messiah?
I don't know who you say Jesus was.
So if you don't know who Jesus is, how can you reject him?
Well, look.
That's true.
Look, the Jesus that the Christians talk about, right, is the Jesus that I've heard about.
Right, but we don't subscribe to the Pauline understanding of Jesus.
No, not understanding as who the person was, right? As in, like, a guy who lived there. I mean, did he do anything interesting?
Well, no. What the Talmud say exactly is you believe that you stoned Jesus to death and you hung him on the cross, correct?
No, Yeshu,
on
not
the
Jesus,
pole.
a different person.
Yeshu, okay, no problem.
Lives in a long time
Yeshu, is that the Yeshu that you reject? Our understanding Yeshu, is that who you reject?
We do reject him, but not as the Mashiach, because he didn't claim to be the Mashiach.
He didn't claim to be the Mashiach.
Yeah, that's not what it says in the Talmud.
Where
in the Talmud it says about this particular Yeshu.
Why did you stone him?
He committed idolatry and he incited people to idolatry, and he did sorcery as well.
Where's your historical evidence?
Where's your proof that Jesus
We're not talking about Jesus. I'm just talking about the Yeshu that the Talmud is talking about.
But the Yeshu that you are rejecting, is that who? Is that the Yeshu?
Is that Isa? No.
Is that Isa?
No.
No. So you don't actually reject Isa.
We don't know who he is. The only people who ever told about Isa were you guys. And the only reason you believe in him is because Muhammad talks about him.
Wait, hang on. But then you say that you reject Isa.
No, I say I reject Jesus.
So you're agnostic when it comes to Isa.
I mean, I don't care about Isa. All I know about Isa is that Muhammad talked about him. And you guys say that Isa was Jesus.
Joshua, you claim that... Hang on.
So hold on, can I ask you...
I'm really confused.
Wait, hold on. So our description of Jesus, do you reject our description? Now, our description of Jesus is as follows, right? That he did not bow down to pagan gods. He didn't worship the brick, as you said just now, that he was sent to the children of Israel according to the Quran, and he was the messenger of God, and he never claimed to be God, he never claimed to be the son of God. Do you reject that specific type of the Jesus that we believe in? Do you reject that? I get the fact that you reject Jesus in the New Testament because obviously the Jews claim that he claimed divinity, which we don't believe in, right? But the Jesus that we believe in, do you reject that Jesus?
I mean, it depends who... Hold on a second. So, the Jesus that you're talking about was a person who lived... When exactly?
Well, you see, the thing is, right?
More than 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, more than 2,000 years ago. So the Jesus that the Christians claim that the Christians reject our Jesus, right? Which we don't even believe that Jesus claimed to be God. And no Muslim...
Do you believe that their Jesus ever existed?
Absolutely, no. We affirm that Jesus did exist, but what we do negate...
Are these two different people, or is it the same guy?
No. We're talking about... No. It's a very good point you made. Josh, that's a very good point you made. That's a very good point you made, and it's a very valid question, right? We do not accept the Pauline understanding of that same individual.
Right. Oh, it's the same individual?
Yeah, same individual, but they have a different understanding of Jesus. So we reject their understanding of Jesus.
When I said the Talmud is talking about a different guy when it talks about Yeshu, I'm talking about literally a different guy.
No, we don't believe in that.
Not the same individual.
No.
He's a different... He lived in a different time frame. He's a different person altogether.
Good.
Right? That's what I meant.
But the Quran is here to refute the misunderstanding that the Christians had of Jesus, to remove the misunderstanding. Yeah. So if that's the kind of understanding of Jesus from an Islamic paradigm, from an Islamic perspective, would you reject him as a Messiah?
Did he claim to be the Messiah?
Yes, he did.
In the Quran, it does.
Yes.
Does Messiah necessarily need to claim he's the king, or can Messiah also be a prophet and a priest?
Well, it depends. He can only be a priest if he is a direct descendant of Aaron through the father line.
Okay.
And of course, you don't believe he had a father, so that doesn't
Okay.
work.
What about prophet?
He could. I mean, I suppose if he never contradicted the Torah, and
Very good.
he didn't make false predictions, and he wasn't too late, then I suppose he could have been a prophet, but he wasn't too late. So, and we don't really know anything he said.
Yeah.
All we have is your word for it. That's what he said. We have Muhammad's word for it.
No problem.
And of course, we know that Muhammad did contradict the Torah, so that doesn't help us. And then Messiah. Well, he's not done anything, so he can't be Messiah either. And even according to your statement, he didn't have a father. Well, to be a Messiah, you need to be a direct descendant through the father line from King David through King Solomon. So it doesn't work either. So,
Okay, fine, but I didn't ask you about the lineage of David. I mean, I'm not asking about
the
that
lineage is
because
extremely important as to whether he's a priest or
there's
Messiah.
there's different messiahs, correct? King Cyrus wasn't he the Messiah in Isaiah 45 verse 1?
He's not the Messiah, he's a Messiah.
Correct. So can there be? So what you're talking about is a different Messiah.
Oh,
We're talking about the Messiah who claims to be the prophet.
Prophet of God. That's
Do
who
you have
we
a
believe.
problem with that?
hold on. The Messiah who claims to be a prophet.
Of course.
I don't understand what you mean.
Okay. Messiah can be referred to three different types of people. Either they're a prophet, either they're a king or a priest. The Messiah that you're talking about is a Messiah who claims to be the king of the Jews. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. We say that Jesus was not the king. He was a prophet. So the Messiah does not necessarily need to claim to be the king, because the Messiah could also be a prophet.
Okay. And what kind of stuff did he say?
Right, so this is where the Quranic injunction comes, because Jesus in the Quran, and the reason there's no point quoting the New Testament, because obviously the
You
Jews.
don't believe in that guy. You believe in this guy.
Well, there's no point because the Jews accuse Jesus of blaspheming God, and we don't believe that the Messiah will ever blaspheme the Creator. In fact,
Why can't you just call him a prophet instead of Messiah? It's a bit confusing.
okay,
Because
for you it might be.
Because usually in semantics, when we talk about the Messiah, we're talking about the Messiah, right? We don't usually talk about King Cyrus as the Messiah, even though Isaiah does refer to him as a Messiah, right? As one of God's many Messiahs, right? We're talking about the Messiah, we're talking about specifically the Messiah, son of David, who is going to be the king and the Redeemer, right? That's who we're talking about when we say Messiah, right? The Messiah.
Okay.
Right? So you could say a Messiah. It's much more easy to just call him a prophet.
Okay, no problem.
That's
A
what
Messiah.
he
No
was.
problem. A Messiah. So do you have an issue with that from the Islamic understanding of Jesus? Do you have a problem that he was a Messiah?
From the Islamic understanding? Obviously not.
Fantastic.
It's from the Islamic understanding. He was a
Fantastic.
prophet.
Fantastic.
That's in the Islamic understanding.
That's the Islam. Exactly.
But would you?
Islam believes.
But yes, I know. But
No,
would
but
you
you-
reject?
would
but
you reject-
Would you reject the Jesus or the Messiah that we believe in?
Yes.
That he believes that God is one, that God has no associates, because we believe that the Quran. That's what the Quran says. That Jesus did not claim to be God. He never claimed to be the Son of God. He claimed to be the messenger of God sent to the Jews. And we don't believe that Jesus broke the Ten Commandments. We don't believe that Jesus broke the law. He came to fulfill the law. According to, obviously, you don't believe in the New Testament, but we
What does that
believe.
mean, fulfill the law?
Like, for example, in Exodus chapter 20, verse 1, you shall have no other God before me. That he worshipped the Creator in all his glory. He didn't associate partners with God. Jesus didn't
You
bear.
already said that, but you said he didn't. You said he didn't come to break the law; he came to fulfill it. What do you mean when you say fulfill?
To keep the commandments.
So
Correct.
he kept the Sabbath, he kept kosher.
According to the Mosaic law, yes.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question that needs to be asked really is, you're asking about Jesus, am I right?
Yeah, well, that's what we're
Okay.
speaking about. Yeah.
Don't mean to cut you. So, do you even believe in Jesus? Because from what I understand, the Jewish people go under the Talmud, Babylonian Talmud. You don't go by. You only go by Old Testament. You don't go by the New. You don't go by the New Testament. Now Jesus came under the New Testament. So if he doesn't go by the New Testament, then you can't even ask him about Jesus because they don't believe in Jesus.
Hold on, sister. Are you Christian or Muslim?
I'm Christian, Israelite. I'm an Israelite.
You're a Hebrew Israelite.
Israelite, yes.
Oh,
I
okay,
would
I
consider
see.
myself an Israelite.
You're a Hebrew Israelite.
But I do
Okay.
understand that they don't go by.
Yeah.
Am I correct or am I right or
You
wrong?
are correct there. You are correct
Okay.
by that. But they're not coming from a Christian perspective.
Exactly.
either.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
actually Muslims.
Yeah, but
And
they're asking you a question that you can't
I know,
really.
but they're talking about a different Jesus.
Exactly.
They're talking about the Muslim
Yeah.
Jesus, not the Christian
Is
Jesus.
there two Jesus?
Yeah, apparently
Sorry?
so.
Is there two Jesus?
Apparently so.
Sorry, what do you mean?
That's what I thought. There's only one Jesus.
No, we never said
No,
that.
they're going under the same Jesus that I'm going
No,
under.
they're talking about a totally different guy.
No, I don't believe in it. Hold on a minute. Sorry, we're getting
From your perspective, yeah, two different Jesus. Yeah,
Hold on,
from your
wait.
perspective. But from my perspective, the Quran came here to remove the allegations against Jesus. That's it.
I think she came late. That's the reason.
Yeah.
She came late, so she's.
And we don't believe Jesus came with a new covenant, start preaching Trinity.
We can speak to her. I'm happy to speak to her.
contradicting the Mosaic law. We believe that Jesus came to tell the people, to revive the Mosaic teachings, to go back to the Old Testament, to go back to the Torah.
Stay. We'll talk to
Question.
you. We'll talk to you.
How
Yeah,
come
yeah.
nobody ever heard of this guy before Muhammad came along?
Which is why the Quran needed to be, that's the reason why the Quran was revealed. To remove the misconceptions that the Christians had on
not
Jesus.
misconceptions. Like, had anyone ever heard of Jesus before Muhammad came along?
Okay. Has anyone heard about Moses?
Yeah.
Historically?
Yeah, historically we've always known about Moses.
Can you give me any historical evidence?
That Jews have known about Moses.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Okay. So, what's your point? What's your point? I don't see the point about the existence.
No.
I can scrutinize the existence of Moses if I want to.
No, because the point I'm saying is that nobody is claiming that there's more than one Moses. Now you guys are claiming there's more than one Jesus.
Oh, sorry.
At least it sounds like it. Maybe I've misunderstood.
I need to get used to it.
Maybe I have misunderstood. I don't know. I'm actually very confused at this point.
The reason why you're confused is because you only understand Jesus according to the Pauline understanding. Okay? What
I don't
yeah, go on.
I don't understand him according to any understanding. I simply see, what I've heard is there was a guy who had a name similar to Jesus,
Okay.
who lived in Israel, maybe Bethlehem, maybe Nazareth, who knows, during the first century, right, died whilst the Second Temple was still around, apparently, the Romans got him, or maybe they didn't, or I mean, you guys are saying they didn't kill him, and they're saying they did kill him.
Who's the Romans? Who was the Romans today?
I don't know. It's irrelevant.
You don't. It's not
Totally
irrelevant.
I think it's
No,
irrelevant,
because
yeah.
the Bible says we need to know who the enemy of the earth is. So if we're saying it's irrelevant, it's not irrelevant at all. Because the Romans.
Sorry, Josh.
Is the subtext then you're going to accuse me of being an
I'm not
Edomite?
accusing you of anything.
Is that the subtext? Is that what you're
I think that's what she's.
I'm not going to accuse you of being a what?
an Edomite?
No, I don't think she is.
I never said
No.
that. You said it.
Do you know what? We'll
I'm
speak to this
saying,
just
is
in a
that-
second.
is that
We'll
the
speak to her in a
subtext?
second.
Because
You
if
said
it is,
it. I didn't say it.
because I know the Hebrew Israelite narrative because I've heard it before.
That's right.
That's what I'm
Josh,
saying.
what
So
we're
wait,
saying to
so
what
then
we're saying to you.
Is that not a valid question then? Is that not valid?
Okay,
I mean, it's something which is totally irrelevant
I'm
to
gonna
the
go in 5
discussion.
minutes.
That's,
So, Josh-
that's why I went into the subtext to basically remove
Josh,
it from the
but
conversation.
based on
but
the-
anyway,
okay, go on.
You guys are saying the Romans killed him. They're saying that
No,
the Romans
we
did
didn't-
not
no,
kill
we not-
Sorry. You
Yeah.
guys are saying the Romans didn't kill him. They say the Romans did kill him. They say he's God. You say he's
No,
not.
we're not saying he's not God. We're not saying that he's God.
No, I said they say he's God.
Exactly.
You guys say
Do you
he's
So
believe
not.
from,
in
so,
Jesus?
so from his,
I don't
yeah,
believe
so from
Jesus is
Islamic
God.
understanding,
Did
do
you
you have
agree he
a,
was a carpenter like them?
I don't believe Jesus.
that's irrelevant.
If he's
Because
speaking
The
for
most
me,
important, the most important thing.
Who was his mother?
Oh no, we believe Mary.
Okay, and they also say Mary.
Okay, fine.
So at the moment, it sounds like it's the same guy. And then where did he live?
Palestine.
No, where?
Why is that relevant?
Because I'm trying to ascertain who this guy was.
Are you talking about Jesus according to the Quran?
Well, I don't. It's just a
Josh,
guy. It's just a guy.
No,
People
Josh,
ask me these questions. a lot.
Josh, you're all over the place.
Wait, Josh. What we're saying to you is this: the Jesus that we're talking about, according to Islam, do you have a problem with that understanding that he was a prophet, a Messiah, who came to restore the Mosaic teachings? Do you have any issue with that?
I mean, I don't believe that he was a prophet because we were never told about it.
Okay, but you just said that it's a different Jesus.
To whom?
You're talking about the Pauline understanding of Jesus. We reject that. But do you
No.
reject the Islamic understanding
Look,
of Jesus?
I'd heard about that Jesus.
Do you reject that?
course I reject
Okay,
their Jesus.
but would you reject the Islamic understanding of Jesus?
As a prophet?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Because I've never heard of this new prophet.
Can you show me anywhere in the Quran where Jesus came to contradict the Mosaic teachings? Jesus came here to confirm the oneness of God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. He came here. He didn't come here to contradict the Mosaic teaching. Rather, he came here to correct the Israelites. The very fact that they're not to keep the commandments.
So if that's really the case, then how come none of the rabbis at the time spoke about this new prophet? They spoke about lots of prophets before that. They spoke about Yeshua. They spoke about Shmuel and Eli, and they spoke about David and Lawson and God and Shlomo, and about Shemaiah and Oded, and about Eliyahu and Elisha, Yeshaya and Hosea and Micha. I could go on and on. Amos and Obadiah and Yonah and Micha and Nachum and Yirmiyahu and Habakkuk and Spania and
Okay, we get the point.
Zechariah and Malachi, and they never spoke about a Jesus guy. So why did they not talk about him? If he's a prophet who never contradicted the Torah, they would have mentioned him.
But we're saying he didn't contradict Torah.
So if he's a prophet that did not contradict the Torah, why did they not talk about him?
That's your issue. That's not ours.
No, but it is a bit of our it is our
So are you
issue.
hold on? Are you denying the existence of Jesus?
I'm denying the existence of the Muslim Jesus because I've never heard of him.
No. Hold on 1 second. No, hold on. Let me clarify. Maybe this might help. Right? We are not actually talking about two different Jesuses here. Just understand my point. Hold on, bear with me. We're actually speaking about the same Jesus, but the difference is, right, is that the Jesus that the Christians believe in is that they believe that the Messiah, that Christ will be divine, right?
Exactly.
And that's the Christ you reject. And we both unanimously reject a divine Christ. We don't believe in it because it's just like saying Moses is God. Right, and you know that Moses is not God because this is idol worship.
Correct.
Right, so the Jesus that Muslims believe in is the same Jesus that the Christians believe in, but the only unique difference between the two is that we accept Jesus as the prophet and the Mashiach. He is the Messiah, and he was sent to the children of Israel. Right, we do not accept him to be God. Right, and that's the difference. That's the sort of parting of ways between the Christians and the Muslims. We don't reject Jesus at all. So the Jesus that you were talking about, you've heard of him, but but the narrative that you have heard is that as what the Jews accuse him in the New Testament, that he claimed to be God, and we reject that because we don't believe that. That's what Jesus preached. Jesus never preached that he was the oneness. He's one and the triune God. He never spoke of this. This was an accusation against the Jews that the Jews levied against Jesus. However, this was not something that Jesus affirmed. He never said, yes, I'm God. He wasn't walking around 2,000 years in Jerusalem saying, hey, everyone, I'm God, worship me, worship, hey, bow down to me, kiss my feet. None of that existed. We believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and that's the Jesus that you have heard of. So we are speaking about the same Jesus, but the difference is that we don't accept him to be God, and he never claimed to be God.
He never claimed.
So what I'm saying to you, right? Why would you have an issue rejecting the Islamic understanding of Christ when the understanding that we hold is that he was the Messiah? He preached that God was one. He never contradicted the laws of the Old Testament. Right. He affirmed the Shema Israela Adonai Elohinu Adonai Echad. He affirmed the Shema. He said that God is one. He never said that God has a partner. He never said that God is equal to himself.
Exactly.
Of course, I know you don't believe in the New Testament.
God is equal to himself.
I said is that Jesus never claimed equality with the Creator.
Correct.
John chapter 14 verse 28. I know you don't believe in it, but John chapter 14 verse 28 says that my Father is greater than I. Right. So Jesus always lowered himself to the Creator. So why would you have a problem with the Muslim understanding of Christ when we are affirming that he was a messenger of God? So that's my contention. And sorry, just one more thing I want to say. Last thing I want to say is that we don't believe that Jesus died on the cross because we know that will make Jesus a false prophet. Now I don't know what you believe, sister. I don't know what the Hebrew Israelites believe, whether Jesus died on the cross or not. But we as Muslims, we reject this belief because if Jesus died on the cross, that will make him a false prophet.
Correct.
Right.
Why? Because, first of all, it's not befitting for the Messiah to die in the way he did, because that will make him a liar. Because, and I'll tell you why. In Deuteronomy chapter 21, it
Verse
says,
22, 23. Yeah.
yeah, 22 to 23, it says, whoever dies is accursed by God.
Okay, so wait.
Now we don't.
Whoever is hanged.
Yeah, whoever is
So
hanged.
Jesus was an Israelite. The Israelites were cursed, according to Deuteronomy. Am I correct? Yes. So if Jesus was an Israelite and the Israelites were supposed to be cursed for a short time, would then he not be under the curse?
Okay.
So I was where's the contradiction?
So I don't want to divert,
No
but
contradiction.
the thing is, the reason why as Muslims we don't reject that, because we look at the early Christian community. The question is, who were the early Christian communities that existed in the 1st and 2nd century? We had the Mandeans. Have you heard of the Mandeans?
Oh, yeah, Mandeans, yeah.
Right. The Mandeans were early
the
Christian sect. They were actually considered as Gnostics, right? They did not believe that Jesus died on the cross, right?
But belief and emotions and what you think, and I believe and I think, and it might be, not might be, it wouldn't be right.
Well, it was
doesn't
actually
mean it's
it was
correct, does it?
actually predominant
We're going
belief.
based on
No,
emotions
no,
rather
no.
than fact.
My sister, no. This was a belief that the Christian community held,
Exactly.
that Jesus, peace be upon him, did not die on a cross,
Correct.
right? In fact, they were using a totally different gospel to what you was using. They wasn't using Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Do you know what they were using? They were using the Gospel of Thomas the Contender, right?
I
Which-
never heard of these people, so I can't
no,
even speak
sister,
on it.
I am enlightening you, so this is something that you can research, right? They were using the Arabic Diatessaron, right? The Diatessaron was written by Titian, right? They were using a completely different gospel. In fact, they were using. Okay, well, sister, you. This is something that you may need to research, right? They were using the Papyrus Egerton II. This is a totally different
I
gospel.
don't know who they are.
No.
You can have, it's like we're here right now. I guarantee there's about 50 different sects of religions right here. So you're telling me one out of the millions in the world that I need to be focusing on. I'm focusing on the Holy Bible, King James Version.
The Bible was not
That's it.
even the Bible was
When
not
was
even.
The Quran was after the Bible.
No, hang on. What's the Quran got? No, the Quran has got nothing to do with the Bible.
Muslim, right?
Yeah, I'm a Muslim.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
then you're saying that the Bible before this. So if you're going to go on dates,
Okay.
then you also have to say the dates of the Quran too, because the Quran came
Well,
in after the Bible.
okay.
Then you can't now say, oh well, the Bible came in before this and this and that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm not using from the Quran. I'm using from your own early Christian communities in the 1st century that denied the crucifixion of Jesus.
I don't know that.
And when was the Bible canonized?
I'm not going to speak on it. I don't know.
4th century.
See, this is what I'm saying, sister. So we had Gospels that were
I don't
completely.
understand why
These
you're
are the
confused.
writings. These are the
understand why.
writings, and they've all been put together into one book. So the writings have all been gathered and put together in one book.
Yeah, but as Brother Hamza said, they were using different gospels. You have the second treatise of the Great Seth.
Absolutely.
And in that
Actually, I'm gonna
particular
read it.
document,
I'm gonna
it
read
mentions
it.
that the Simon of Cyrene was crucified instead of Jesus.
I'll read it to you.
And then you read in the Apocalypse of Saint Peter that Jesus, the actual Jesus, was actually laughing and he was on the tree. Now, these
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I can quote scriptures. I can, but I won't, because that's not what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Based on it's not. So I will listen, but I will not. I will quote scripture.
Okay, I'm going to quote you an extract, right, of the second treatise of the Great Seth, right?
I don't know who that is. So
Okay,
you can quote me
I
whatever
will.
you want to quote me,
Okay.
because there's millions of different quotes, billions, trillions of different quotes. So any man can say to me, "Let me quote you this, let me quote you that." That means God, that's the gospel. No, I go by what I go by.
Okay.
It's like me coming to you say, "Oh, you go by your book," and I'm coming to you with another book. Oh, this is a quote from such a man. This is a quote from such a man. Go by this. No. So you go by what you go by. I go by what I go by.
understanding of Jesus.
I heard that.
And we have to respect that.
Yeah, no,
You understand?
Sister, I'm not here to like.
I'm not here
no,
either to argue. Yeah,
No, 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 no. I'm not. Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to knock your belief.
No, but I'm not
You know what I
knocking
mean?
yours, because
And,
everybody
you know,
has their rights to their own belief
Absolutely,
system.
like-
So I can come with different books and say,
Okay,
oh,
no, no,
well,
no.
let's see the Quran this and the
face
Quran
value
that,
of
and this
how
and this
we
and that, and I can go to him and.
present about Jesus.
But
Do you have an
where does
issue?
it end? You have your book, I have my book that I go by and I believe in.
No
You
problem.
can't now tell me about
now
something I've
this is
never
from the
heard
Quran.
about. Listen to this, read this. This is what he said.
Why
No,
you
it
talk
doesn't.
about
That
it?
doesn't make. It wouldn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But sister, the reason why I'm bringing up these references, because this is something that maybe you can look into yourself. This is something that you could
That's like me
open
telling
up.
you to ignore your book and look into another book.
No, I'm not telling you to
Because then you
ignore.
get like your brain gets all like this. I believe in a book and I'm sticking on my book,
Okay.
and I don't need no other
Do you
book.
have any problem?
I don't need no other book. I don't need no other teachings. I've got my teachings. I'm happy with it.
If there would never
Okay.
have
I'm blessed. I'm praised. I'm grateful
No
to my
problem.
book. I don't need to hear anything.
because he's
No, that's okay, sister. No problem. No, sister. No worries.
Have you scrutinized the claim that Muhammad came with independently?
what, that God spoke to him.
Yes.
I mean, lots of people say that God speaks to them.
Can you? Okay. If for example, even for the sake of argument, you are implementing or you are applying the criteria from the Torah.
We're talking now in a theoretical state, in an alternative universe
Okay.
in which the mass revelation never happened and the Torah was never made.
Okay, so can you prove to me Muhammad is a false prophet in that paradigm?
I couldn't prove it. I would just decide whether or not to believe. It would all be a matter of faith then.
So are you telling me that Muhammad is a false prophet just because the Torah, just because it doesn't fulfill the criteria from the Torah?
Because he contradicts the Torah.
Okay, when you say contradicts the Torah, you used a narrative from Surah to Yusuf, correct?
Yes.
Okay, fine. But that's circular reasoning,
Why?
because you first have to establish to me why is the Torah the word of God?
But I already did that because I
How?
explained mass revelation. But right now we're talking in an alternative reality in which mass revelation and the Torah never existed.
Okay, fine, no problem.
And you're asking me in that reality.
So you are very confident from a one-man testimony that he's a false prophet. Now you have to prove to me, was he lying?
Right. From one man. So without the Torah, without mass revelation, this
Correct.
alternative universe, would I believe Muhammad is a prophet or not? Depends how gullible I am.
Okay, so have you assessed the claim that Muhammad Sallallahu came with?
That God spoke to him.
Yes. Through the angel Gabriel.
I mean, not to a great degree.
Why not?
Because in our timeline, mass revelation did happen, and so I never needed to.
Okay, fine. But then if you're so confident that
It's like
Muhammad...
Back to the Future. It's
But
brilliant.
hang on. If you're so confident that Muhammad is a false prophet, you wouldn't need the Torah. You can independently review his claim and prove to him he's a liar.
But that's not what I ever claimed. I never claimed that him just by being is therefore a false prophet. No. What I was saying was, in our timeline, the mass revelation happened, therefore we have the Torah, and if Muhammad contradicts it, therefore he's a false prophet.
Yeah, but we confirm...
That was my argument all along.
Yeah, but Joshua...
That was my argument all along.
No problem. But irrespective whether there's mass revelation or not, we believe in Moses anyway. So I don't
But
know.
you only believe in him because of Muhammad, and you believe Muhammad.
Okay, hang on. So do you have? So now you can't back out because you can't back out now because we Muslims believe that Moses is the true prophet because Muhammad said so.
So you believe in Moses, only back out from what though? Because I believe in Moses because of mass revelation.
I believe
and
in
you believe in Moses because of Muhammad.
Okay, so do you have any issue with that?
That you believe in Moses because of Muhammad. No.
Okay,
I
so
don't
now
have an issue.
exactly.
What
So
kind
now
of issue would I have?
exactly that's the point I'm making. So now can you independently prove to me that Muhammad?
You do you. It's like you do you. If you want to believe Moses because of Muhammad, just go ahead.
Okay, but but his
But if Muhammad is false in his claims,
Exactly.
if Prophet Muhammad is false in his claim, and yet he made it a part of our faith to believe in Moses, right? Would you disprove that Prophet Muhammad is?
I was miles away. To say that again. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So, sorry. So basically, right, we believe in Moses, right, and we believe in Jesus, right. So we believe that Moses is a prophet of God, right, because it is stated in the Quran, right.
Yes.
And you believe in him, isn't it?
Yeah, and I
So
believe in him
if-
because of mass revelation.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So if Muhammad is a false prophet, right?
Yes.
And obviously, I argued. Okay, let me take this in another route, right? In the Quran, I've explained to you earlier, right, that the Quran speaks about so much scientific miracles, right?
Yes.
And the Quran speaks about embryology, for example. The Quran speaks about oceanography. The Quran speaks about various different scientific miracles, and of which is only been found out recently through 20th century technology, for example. And I mentioned to you earlier, like the expanding universe, for example. So hold on one
I
second.
would have to look through these different claims, right, and actually analyse to see whether or not. So I remember I once watched a very interesting debate between Muhammad Hijab and Bob about embryology. And for my own reasoning, I thought Bob did extremely well in that debate. And I'm not convinced, actually, that the Quran does, in fact, talk about embryology based on the debate that I watched. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I can only go on what people
I'll give
much
an
more
example.
knowledgeable than I
The
am
Quran
are
says
talking about with regards to science, whether or not the Quran actually does fulfill these types of things. So I'm not going to take a Muslim's word on it, or even the Quran's word on it, that it's saying this, right? I would actually look at the science if that was where I was going to go. But in our timeline, I don't need to do that, because in our timeline, mass revelation did happen, and therefore it's irrelevant to me whether or not there's
my question to you is this, right? Is that if the Quran makes a claim, right? For example, there's a verse in the Quran. The Quran says that we have created man in 3 stages of darkness, right? Now we know we have embryonic, pre-embryonic, and we have fetal, right? These are the 3 embryonic development in a mother's womb, right? Now we know that Professor Keith L. Moore, right, in his book The Principles of Zoology, page 55, he mentions, right, the 3 stages of that process, which is embryonic, pre-embryonic, and fetal. Right? So my question is, how did Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago know that the different stages of the embryonic development is 3 stages? Why did he not say 4 stages? Why did he not say 5 stages? Why was he specific in 3 stages? Right? So again, my question to you is, Josh, right? If Prophet Muhammad was a false prophet, right? And as I mentioned to you earlier, it speaks about the expanding universe, which we only found out recently in 1952. How is it possible that Prophet Muhammad is receiving this information, right, and it's not coming from a divine source, right? This shows me, as a logical thinking person, that this is coming from a divine creator. It cannot be coming from any other source other than the creator himself.
I think there are other options.
Okay, what are the other options?
Sorcery.
Okay. So prove to me that the Quran is from.
Now we're getting there.
That's fine. Prove to us.
Okay. I don't. That's not the burden of proof. I don't need to prove that it was sorcery. But all I need to say is that what you're saying is proof is not necessarily proof, because there's an alternative way of looking at it.
But the Quran says, "Wala biqawli
I'm
kahin."
shedding a doubt on it. Right? I'm shedding doubt on your preposition that the only logical way of looking at it is divine. I would say actually no, that's not the only logical way. You could have multiple different logical ways of looking at it. One example would be sorcery. I'm not saying it necessarily is sorcery.
Hang on, you made an active claim now. It comes to sorcery, so you need to prove that.
No, I'm not making an active
So
claim.
that's just speculation.
I'm not. Exactly.
I'm saying
that there is an alternative way of looking at it logically. One could say it is sorcery.
I could say exactly, if I was a non-Jew and I did not believe in Moses,
yes,
I could accuse Moses of sorcery.
Sure, of course you could.
Okay,
but
so how do you
have mass
that?
revelation? So
right, exactly. So don't you think the burden of proof is the one who makes the claim?
Yes, the burden of proof is the one who makes the claim.
Good. So now
I'm not making a claim.
Well, you did. You said it could be a possibility that it's a sorcery. So now you have to prove to me.
Oh, that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. From the preposition that there is such a thing as sorcery, and in sorcery you're able to conjure up all sorts of supernatural forces and magical powers and stuff. One may even be able to see into the future. One may be able to get all sorts of hidden knowledge from spiritual spheres of influence, however that works out. But if one believes in sorcery, then one can come to that conclusion. And therefore, somebody in the the 8th century, 7th century, I don't even know where he lived, 1400 years ago, who in Arabia, maybe he was a sorcerer, and he managed to get all these hidden knowledge from spiritual sources and sorcery. Maybe.
Did his people believe he was a magician?
Well, there were people who accused him of it.
Yeah, it's just. But did they know that he was proficient and he was professional in magic?
Well, we will never know what they knew in their hearts, because that was in their hearts, wasn't it?
But hang on, we
don't even know their names.
Hang on. The reason why they resorted to magic after listening to the recitation of the Quran, because they have no other explanation. It's a supernatural. But they knew that Muhammad was not a magician. He was illiterate. He was unlettered. He couldn't even read nor write. He had no knowledge of magic.
How do you know that being illiterate means he cannot be a magician?
Because there's no proof, there's no evidence that he was well versed in magic, and none of the Quraysh.
But lack of evidence, I'm sure you can appreciate that lack of evidence itself does not necessarily prove that it is false.
I can understand that, but then you have to give me some sort of implicit evidence. Otherwise, it's just speculation.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. I am speculating.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I said I was doing.
That's exactly what agnostic atheists
But
do.
hold on, the Quran.
That's exactly the point I was trying to make. That in this alternative timeline in which mass revelation never happened, and therefore there's no Torah.
Josh, you should be very confident.
And therefore there's no Torah. I would be agnostic as to whether or not
Josh,
Muhammad
you
is
should-
a prophet, depending on how gullible I am.
Joshua, you should be very confident to disprove Muhammad's claim without the Torah. If he's a false
Why?
prophet, because, okay, the reason why I say so, because you accuse him of being a false prophet, correct?
Yes, I
okay,
accuse
fine.
him.
Now, why would you need the Torah to prove to him he's a false prophet? Why not just refute his claim in the first place? Scrutinize his claim. Is he lying? Is he deceiving people? Are you that insecure that you need the Torah?
Sorry,
to
can I
prove
just
he's a false prophet?
add one thing? Can I
Yeah,
just?
sure, why not?
Really?
What on earth would be wrong with in the timeline we have, which we're in,
Yeah.
where there is mass revelation, with simply saying very, very quickly, well, it contradicts the Torah comes from mass revelation.
So
That's the end of that.
it should be easier for you to just disprove Muhammad's claim then.
I mean, that is easy.
I mean, come on,
like I
one man.
said.
I mean, come on, one man testimony. I mean, that is a huge burden. Surely you can disprove him without the Torah.
No, because it's zero credibility. I can't disprove zero credibility.
No, but can you? Okay, let's go
But
through.
it's like, can I disprove Nanak's claim of being a prophet?
Without the Torah,
without
yes,
the
I can.
Torah, no,
Without
I
the
can't.
Quran, I can.
Without the Torah, no, I can't.
Okay, sorry. Can I just? I just want to mention one thing, right? That you said it could be magic, right?
Yes.
Now, the Quran makes an active claim. It says, "Wala biqawli kahin," that this is not the words of a magician or a soothsayer, right?
It makes a claim that it's not magic.
Yeah, absolutely. The Quran does say that. Now,
Great.
which is good. That's
Amazing. Brilliant for it.
Yeah.
Good for it.
Now,
I'm very happy for it. Well done, Quran.
good.
I'll shake his hand. Anyway, it's a book.
Right. So in the time of Moses, right, when Moses opened up the sea, right? If I said to you that's magic and that wasn't from God,
Exactly.
that was inspired by Satan. Satan was the one that caused the sea to open up, and then the children of Israel went through. Would you accept that from me?
I mean, I wouldn't because there's mass revelation. But in an alternative timeline, well, then I'd be agnostic anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Okay, so the same way how you reject that it was from Satan, because anyone can argue, an agnostic, an atheist can say, well, that's Satan that did it. That wasn't
An
from
atheist
God.
couldn't, an agnostic could. Atheists don't believe in Satan.
Okay, irrespective whether it was from an agnostic or anyone who doesn't believe in God.
That is agnostic.
Anyone who doesn't believe in God
Yes.
can actively make the claim, right?
No, they can't make any active claims.
Well,
they
why
can
not?
speculate because they're agnostics.
Okay, by definition, yes.
Yes.
However, they can say it's magic, just like you say it's the magic from the Quran.
Of course, for sure they could.
Well, exactly. But you don't believe. Right? You don't believe that whoever opened up the partition of the sea, that it was from Satan,
Why?
always from.
Why don't I believe that?
Because you believe it was God that helped Moses do that.
Exactly.
But why do I believe that?
Because you believe in God.
No, why do I believe that?
Are you playing a joke?
It's not a joke. Mass revelation. That's why I believe it. I've already explained this.
Right.
That's
So-
in this timeline. In
right.
the other timeline where mass revelation
So the
didn't
same
happen,
way-
right? Then
Right.
then I'm agnostic on all of this stuff.
Right.
All of it. Every single last bit of it.
So it should be easier. It should be
Wait, hold on.
easier job for you to disprove Muhammad.
Hold on one second. He believes in it
Come on.
because it's mass revelation. That's
Why
what
do you need?
Why? I wouldn't be disproving that either in the other timelines. So what are you talking about?
Josh, was Muhammad a liar?
Was he a liar?
Yes.
Well, it depends what a liar is. If a liar is a liar somebody who purposefully makes stuff up?
Do you believe that's the case?
Well, I don't know because I wasn't in his mind.
You
was
don't
I?
know.
I don't know if he purposefully made something up or if he simply had some sort of mental problem.
You see, that's a confirmation bias. But that's all you're
Hold on
hearing.
one second.
No,
If Prophet
in this
Muhammad,
timeline.
wait, hold on one second.
No,
If
in
Prophet
this
Muhammad was a
timeline,
liar, hold on,
where we're
brother.
talking in our timeline when mass revelation did occur, right? Where it did occur, and therefore the Torah is true. The only reason I'm saying
Can I say one thing?
that
go on.
Muhammad is a false prophet is because of that. But in the alternative timeline that we're theorizing about, in which mass revelation never happens, so the Torah is false,
Yeah.
then I don't need to say anything about Muhammad. I can be agnostic. I've said this before.
Yeah, but then Christians can make the same claim. I heard.
Of course they could.
Oh, so does that mean it's true?
No, you can make a claim that doesn't make it true.
Thank you, Josh. So now you confirm. So now
I confirmed what?
Now you confirm that the mass revelation is not a necessity. It's about the claim and why is it true or why is it
No,
false.
because anyone can make a claim, but it doesn't make it true. The claim of mass revelation, however, is different.
No, but
it's a mass
hold on.
thing.
See,
Hold
this
on,
is
one
where-
second.
yeah.
I've explained to him. Okay,
special pleading.
One second.
No, it's mass claim.
Josh,
Totally
I've
different.
explained to you
Totally
about.
different. It could never have started as a lie.
Okay.
It's impossible. Okay.
If Prophet Muhammad was a liar, then how is it? It's confirmed scientifically that the universe is expanding, and we know that to be true because in 1952 this was examined, this was checked, and this was verified, right? So if Prophet Muhammad was a liar, then therefore the claim of the Quran that the universe is expanding will be false. It will be a false claim. But we know that the universe is expanding. We know that that information was only found out in 1952. So we know, and I'm sure you would agree with me if you're a truthful person, which I assume you are, inshallah, Josh, that you would agree with me that the Quran is right. Because we know that the universe is expanding. We've established that. That's proven. It's through science. It's been established, and the Quran makes that active claim, and it's true. So why would you deny something which is actively true?
In which timeline?
Okay, 1,400 years ago, right? The Quran made the active
That's
claim.
not what I mean.
No, so what do you mean
I
when you
say-
say timing?
Because we were talking about two different timelines before. We were doing a Back to the Future thing. We were saying that we're in this timeline where mass revelation did happen, and then there's an alternative one where it didn't happen.
No,
So
I'm talking
which
about.
one are you asking me this? Are you asking me where mass revelation did not happen, or when it did happen?
Brother, I'm not even talking about mass revelation.
No, it's
I'm
very,
talking
very
about.
important.
I'm talking about the claim.
It's crucial to my answer.
Joshua,
Hold on.
you misunderstood, right? We'll give you this mass revelation, no
Okay,
problem.
but if it did happen, so it doesn't matter
No
to me.
problem, mass
Then I-
revelation. No problem, Josh. We can see that. Yes, there was mass revelation, no problem. The Israelites, they heard God's revelation to Moses,
Yes.
no problem, right? But that is mutually exclusive to the revelation that Muhammad claims that this was from God.
Exactly, mutually exclusive.
Right, so mutually exclusive. But
Exclusive.
you are linking this to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Linking it.
Yes, of course. The reason why you reject Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because there was no mass revelation.
No, because there was mass revelation, and because Muhammad contradicted the
Right.
mass
So
revelation.
the claim of Moses to be a prophet of God is completely different to the claim that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam makes. It's a different.
Yeah,
It's a different.
different type of claim.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is these are both mutually exclusive
No, but hold on. Even better.
because
It's the same term
you're
you're using,
you're using a mass revelation against Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Yes.
Is that the reason why he's a false prophet?
Yeah, because it contradicts the Torah, and we believe the Torah because of mass revelation. So yes.
Where is that criteria?
Where is the criteria?
That criteria. Where is it in the Old Testament?
In logic. It's
No.
in logic.
This is what you do. No.
I did it before, and you didn't like it then, I'm doing it again,
You are a
and I still
Jew,
don't like
correct?
it.
Are you a Jew?
I am. Are you a
Okay.
Muslim?
Alhamdulillah, I am.
Well, there we
Okay.
go.
Now,
Baruch Hashem. Now we know who we are. So I don't know why we're asking.
Joshua, are you okay? Do you go by what the text says before logic?
We have to use both. We
No,
have to
I
use
didn't
the
ask
text and logic. There's no before.
No.
There is no before.
No.
We
I'm
have
not,
to use both.
Joshua, I asked you the question.
No, and I answered you.
No. Do you go by what the text say before logic?
I already answered your question. You didn't accept my answer.
Let's say-
and you
let-
didn't argue with my answer.
Okay, so
So
Josh-
I'm going to restate it again.
Okay, go on.
Both.
Okay, so let's say the text doesn't make sense. Logically speaking,
Yes.
would you still believe it?
Well, we have to go to the oral Torah. to
No, forget
understand
about the
it.
oral Torah. Why? If it doesn't logically make sense, why do you believe it in the text?
Because of mass revelation.
Ah, so there you go. So you have to prove to me from the text there has to be mass revelation for it to be a true prophet.
Oh, that's
No,
true.
I
That's
don't.
good.
Because the reason I
No, but that's what you're asserting.
No,
Wallahi,
that's not what
Josh.
I'm asserting. No, you've misunderstood.
Wallahi, Josh,
You've misunderstood my assertion.
Okay, so what did you say?
My assertion is that the reason I believe in the text to begin with is because there was a mass revelation.
And I asked you, is that a necessary criteria?
To believe in the text.
No, the mass revelation.
So hold on. The criteria
Yes.
to believe in the text is mass revelation.
Is that your criteria?
Yes.
And is that supported by the text?
Supported in, what do you mean supported?
If somebody comes and claims to be a prophet,
Yes.
right, and there was no mass revelation,
Yes.
is he considered to be a false prophet, according to you?
It depends if he contradicts the Torah.
Okay, so now you don't have an issue with mass revelation. you have an issue the fact that Muhammad said was contradicting the Torah, correct?
Okay, I don't know how long we've been arguing for,
Okay,
but
sure.
when we started, we had exactly this exchange, and people watching.
But you are not backing. Hang on, you are not backing your claim.
I already answered this. I'm gonna have to.
No,
Let's
hang
do
on,
this
hang on.
again, shall we?
No.
Let's start again.
Josh,
Going all the way back from the beginning.
Josh,
That's
you
what
said,
we've done here. It's amazing.
Josh, you said that Muhammad Sallallahu is a false prophet because one, there was no mass revelation, and number two, he contradicts the Torah. Am I correct?
I said he's a false prophet because he contradicts the Torah. That was the reason I said.
And you gave an example from the story of Joseph. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fine. But the brother here, Hamza, shown you that there's even internal contradictions in the Torah.
And I already explained that don't strawman Judaism because we have an oral Torah which explains the written.
You can't accuse us of straw man argument unless you provide your own case.
Not true, because the same way I would not expect you to have memorized all the hadiths, you should not have expected me to memorize all of the Torah Shabbat.
Yeah, but if there are internal contradictions, if there are internal contradictions, then we don't have to then go by your criteria.
Exactly.
Because if there's internal contradictions and you need oral explanation, the oral Torah to explain what's in here, then I'm sorry to say we don't have to use your own criteria. This is the reason why I was actually going directly to the Quran itself rather than using the criteria you have, because we know that there's contradictions which you have affirmed. In fact, last week you affirmed that there's contradictions in the Torah, and that you have to use external sources to explain the verses that you think that is contradictory. So therefore, that's the reason why, as a Muslim, we don't have to use your criteria because there's contradictions in it anyway.
You wouldn't use our criteria even if you wouldn't use our criteria anyway. And the reason you won't is not because you don't think it makes sense. It's instead because the Quran tells you that our Torah is corrupt.
No, but it does. No, but it both. No, but it.
That's the reason.
No, but it's both.
Don't play games with me. Don't say that if the Quran had not said it's corrupt, that you would have come up with this all by yourself.
No, even if there was no Quran and we just examined it just by looking at it and then scrutinizing it carefully, we will find contradictions in it, without the Quran or with the Quran.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
what I'm
That's
saying
the
to
whole
you, right, is that...
But what are you going to then do with the contradictions? That's the question.
No, but...
What's the premise? Is the premise that there would never be a contradiction in this book, and therefore if I find one, then that disqualifies the
what
whole
I am
book?
asserting...
Or is the premise a different premise, which is that God deliberately put contradictions here, and He also gave us the oral explanations of how to work out how to resolve them in order to learn X, Y, and Z from it.
I believe that the Torah was corrupted by mankind, right?
You believe that because of the Quran. You've just gone back.
So
We're
hold on a minute.
talking about the timeline that you just allowed us to go into, which there's no Quran.
No, but hold on one
second. Don't
second.
go back to the Quran on me, because that's not going to help you.
No, hold on. I'm not going to the Quran. I'm going to your
you're
own.
talking about corruption.
No, I am talking about corruption. But what I'm saying to you, for example, when it says that God rested and was refreshed, right? Sorry, I have to use this example, and I know you don't like it, but I have to use this example because you believe that it's the innate word of God. Yes. But you affirmed this week, last week, and the week before that the Torah has contradictions inside of it, right? So if it has contradictions inside of it, then I would then assert. So even if I was just, for argument's sake, let's say I wasn't a Muslim. Okay. Let's say I just looked at it from the lenses of someone who diacritically looks at holy scriptures. Just by looking at the the Torah and examining it carefully, I can then argue it's not the word of God because of these contradictions, right?
Of course you could argue it.
Exactly.
The question is, does your argument hold weight?
Absolutely, it holds weight. And the reason why it holds weight is because even the Quran itself gives a criteria. The Quran says, if this book, meaning the Quran, was other than the Creator, truly within it, ikhtilaf and kathira, that you'll find a lot of contradictions, discrepancies, etc. Right? So that's the falsification test the Quran gives.
The Quran, though.
No. Listen carefully. The reason why I went back to the Quran, because then we can make that assessment on your book.
But why are you using that assessment if you only got that from the Quran? Well, we're talking about an argument in which there is no Quran.
But hang on, Josh. Hold on one second.
Outside of this framework.
Josh, hang on. So now
going into a different framework.
Hang on,
hang on,
Josh. That's exactly what we're trying to do, which is you're doing exactly the same thing that we're doing to you. You're using your own Torah to falsify Muhammad's claim. So why do you have an issue? So why
that's
exactly?
not what
Exactly.
No, it's not.
You did.
No, you're not following the argument that we're having. We've been
just did
through
that.
this.
You just did that. You
No,
just did that.
no, because when you said that we're going to do two frameworks, right, where we're going to talk about, let's assume the mass evolution did not happen, I was very, very clear every time I spoke that I was talking within that timeline, within that framework.
No, you misunderstood my point.
Clear.
No, you say Muhammad is a false prophet because because he did not meet the criteria in the Torah, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and I said that if there had not been a Torah, I would be agnostic about
Isn't that circular reasoning?
it. No, it's not.
Of course it is. So why do you have an issue when Hamza is talking about the Quran and the falsification test that's within the Quran?
I don't have an issue per se until Hamza said, now we're going to assume there's no Quran.
No,
he never
brother.
said that.
No,
He
hold
never
on.
said
Let me clarify.
Said, even if there was no Quran, I would still, because X, Y, and Z.
No, hold on.
And then he brought the Quran. in
No,
order
even
to-
if it's not a
That's bad
Muslim. No. He
argumentation.
said even
Wait.
if I'm not a Muslim,
Yeah,
I would
which
inquire
means-
into it.
And why would you not be a Muslim when you obviously believe in the Quran just by looking at it?
No, listen.
So the only reason you'd not be a Muslim
Right.
is because there's no Quran.
Right. Okay, Dr. Maurice Buckel, right? I'm going to give you an example, right? Because maybe using me as an example, you may think it's a bad example because I'm a Muslim. So let's use someone who wasn't a Muslim.
Okay.
Dr. Maurice Buckel wasn't a Muslim.
Yeah.
He examined the Torah
Yeah.
and he saw that it was full of contradictions.
Yeah.
He saw that it was full of errors,
Yes.
etc.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the reason why I was going back to the Quran, right? Because I feel that the Quran uses an excellent criteria to determine if it is from God or not. And when I examine the Quran, for example, when the Quran says, right, that if this book came from other than the Creator, truly within it, you will find many discrepancies. God, I've got so many of them. Now, it says, truly within
You're
it,
gonna fall over eventually.
yeah, well, yeah, and it will all fall over. Now, it says, truly within it, you will find...
I've got one, but eventually there'll be so many that on him he's going to fall over.
well, I think so.
Wait.
I think so.
Just, if you put lots on me, I'll also fall over.
Oh no, you're on the hot seat. Don't worry.
Okay.
You'll bury me in microphone.
So anyway, as I was saying to you, like, the Quran says, right, if it came from other than the Creator, you will find discrepancies,
Okay.
right? So, as someone who's looking into the Quran and looking at this verse, I feel that I don't see the harm in applying that same criteria to the Bible, because you believe, right, that the Bible is the word of God. You believe it doesn't have no mistakes. You believe there's no errors, etc. So if it's from God, then truly within it you shall not find discrepancies, just like the Quran makes that
There's a
claim.
difference between discrepancies and mistakes. Because you can have purposeful discrepancies, you can have mistaken discrepancies. And that's the issue. In Judaism, we don't believe that the discrepancies you'll find are mistaken. We believe they are purposeful and they are explained in the Old Torah. That's what we believe.
Okay, well, I would dispute that because I brought up to you in Genesis chapter 1 where there were errors, right? And of course, hear me out. I know the
Errors
oral
means
Torah.
mistaken. That errors means mistaken. That doesn't dispute
Hang on,
what
even
I'm
for the
saying.
sake of argument, no problem. Even for the sake of argument, you say it's a mistake.
No, if I'm saying it's a purposeful discrepancy.
Okay, so
God put it there on purpose.
So why would God fool people then?
Exactly.
No, because God's not fooling people, because God gave us not only something written, but something oral as well.
Does God make mistakes?
No, that's
Okay.
what I just said.
No, brother,
I
hold on.
literally just said. You listen to the word I'm saying.
No, I did. So
What did I say? What's
no,
the
you,
nuance? I'm making
you
in
say
this word?
that there's a difference between contradiction and mistakes, correct?
No, I'm saying
You did.
there's a difference between mistaken discrepancies and purposeful discrepancies.
Okay, so in other words, you're
Okay,
saying
fine,
that the
fine.
oral Torah is the explanation to these discrepancies.
Yes.
Right.
And these discrepancies are there on purpose, not as mistakes.
Right, I still will charge you that it's still something that is still, in my opinion, I'll call it an error, irrespective of the oral Torah.
Okay.
Now, I get the fact that you have the oral Torah that explains this.
Yeah.
However, you still have to explain to me, right, when God says in Genesis chapter 1 that he's created light on the first day, right, and he created the source of light on the fourth day, give me an evidence from the oral Torah to explain this discrepancy.
Why do I need to do that?
Right. The reason why you need to do that, right, is because you said earlier, right, that in order to explain these discrepancies, you have to go to the oral Torah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you right now, can you explain to me from the oral Torah this problematic contradiction?
Thank you.
Right now, no, because I'm not an encyclopedia. I already said this.
Okay.
I've not memorized all of the oral Torah off by heart.
No problem, but would you look into it?
I know a tiny fraction of what there is to know within the oral Torah.
Yeah.
And I would assume, I'm lowering expectations here, I would assume that you also have memorized a tiny bit of the Hadiths. Yes?
Tiny bit. Okay, so so would you be willing to inquire into that issue? Okay, no problem. No
Let's
problem.
do it. We'll leave it at that.
We leave it at that. We leave it at that.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Okay then. I've got to go. I've got to pray.
Agree to disagree?
We agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
The truth will prevail.
Yes, it will.
Josh, lovely
Take
speaking
care,
to you.
man. Lovely. Nice to meet you, man.
All right.
Take care. Assalamu alaikum. I've got to pray, man.
Jazakallah khair.
Nah, no.
All we can say, may Allah guide Josh, inshallah. Ameen. Right, I've got so many spiders on me, I don't know which one to take off.
I don't know, man.